Okay, so let's get the domain and range from some graphs of piecewise functions. All right, so we're going to start with this one. And I've already changed the screen, so that's fine. Let's start with the domain. So let's think about the left side of this graph first. Let's notice that this is going forever to the left. I mean, it's doing it very, very slowly, but it's still going to be covering everything to the left. So really, if we think about crushing it down onto the x-axis, everything over here, and I'm trying to write on the x-axis, but for some reason it's writing below it. But everything along the x-axis here is going to get covered from 0 over. All right, well, now let's think about this piece. Certainly, when this squishes downward, it's going to come straight down to right there, and there's going to be an open circle right there. But let's notice that this is going to close in that open circle, and that's going to come down as an open circle in the same spot. So really, all of this will come down along the line here, and it will cover the x-axis up to here, and then that is going to get closed in, so that's definitely going to get covered. And then all of these points will come down to the x-axis up until this point right here, and so all of this in here will get covered. So there's our domain, that shaded green thing along the x-axis, and because this is a solid point right here, it's included as well. So this is going out into negative infinity, so our domain is going to be starting at negative infinity. Remember, all infinity symbols, including a negative infinity symbol, have an open bracket. And then this is actually on the graph as a closed point. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a closed bracket at 6. And that's our domain. All right, so let's get the range. And to get the range, I am going to actually erase everything. So go ahead and go backwards here. Now, for range, let me change the color. We'll just deal with a different color for range. All right, and remember, we're talking about thinking about pushing the pieces of the graph onto the y-axis. So let's notice if the lowest place here is at 0. So certainly our range is going to start there at 0. And I'm trying to draw on 0, but it's kind of going below it. All right, now we can see that all of this is going to crush over to the y-axis. So certainly all the way up to here will get covered. All right, now right here, there will be an open circle, but if you think about it, all of this over here is going to close in that open circle, and this right here is going forever. And it really doesn't matter about these two pieces right here, because they're just going to land on what's already been shaded from this right here. So in truth, if we just think about that left-hand side going up forever, this is going to go up forever. All right, so that means it starts at 0, and there actually is a point with a y value of 0 here, and goes forever upward. So we need a square bracket next to 0, since that's included, and it goes up forever to infinity, open bracket next to infinity. All right, so let's look at another one. So let's look at this graph right here. All right, let's start with domain. Now, notice there's really nothing off to the left, so our domain must start right here. And if we think of all of these points coming down, it's got to go all along there and end right there. So our domain is going to cover all of these x values along here. Now, there is a point at the x value of 1, and there is a point at the x value of 6. So this domain is 1, 2, 6. Square brackets, because those points are actually there. Now, let's go ahead and do the range. Now, I'll just change my color here. Change it to perhaps a green. All right, so let's do the range. Now, for the range, let's realize the point that's lowest right here, this point right here, is going to come straight over here to the y-axis when we push it toward the y-axis. And all of this is going to be pushed over to the y-axis, and right here, the highest point is going to end up being right here. So it's going to get covered between there. And we can really think that everything along here is just going to be pushed to one point right there when it gets crushed onto the y-axis. So this starts at 0 and ends at 3. There actually is a y value at 0, and there actually is multiple y values at 3. So we want square brackets. So our range is 0 to 3. All right, and let's do one more. Let's do this one right here with the piecewise function up at the top there. All right, so let's again think of, we'll do domain, and I'll stay with green for the moment for our domain. If we think about this, this is going on forever. And this piece right here is going till right here. And certainly that open circle is going to come down to the -1. But all of this is going to get crushed, and it's getting overly sensitive for some reason. It's going to get crushed down and be right here. All right, but that open circle that was at -1 is going to get closed when this pops up here and gets crushed to the x-axis. And in fact, all of this is going to cover all the way up to there. So really, I've got my x-axis to right there. And then this right here, if we think it's really going forever to the right, it's just doing it slowly. When it gets crushed downward, it's going to cover everything over here. So notice that my green covers from -infinity to +infinity. So the domain is going to be -infinity. Well, my drawing is getting worse and worse. Let me back that up. See if I can't redraw. -infinity to +infinity. And remember our infinity symbols, both negative and positive, take an open bracket. All right, now I'm going to change my color, and we'll do the range. All right, so the range, let's remember we are going to push this graph onto the y-axis. We're going to squish it vertically. All right, so the lowest value, sorry, stopped my video to get the dog hushed up for a moment. All right, so the lower value we'll get when we compress this thing onto the y-axis, the lowest value, let's notice, is at -3. Now, certainly, this piece right here is all going to come over here, and this part right here is all going to come over here. So we're certainly going to get all of this covered. And then this piece really is going up forever, and it really doesn't matter about this piece because this will just be extra points at 1, but this right here is going to take care of all the points at 1 and everything else too. So this is really going to get covered, going all the way up because of that arrow taking it all the way up. So let's notice the lowest value is at -3. We actually have a y value of -3 on the graph, so we need a square bracket for that -3. And then this is going up forever, so it's going to infinity, and always an open bracket at infinity.